Hey, back again. Okay, we are working on the Title II Social Security Disability application when it's done on paper, but it, in a sense, mirrors the question substance that you're going to find in an online application also. Have my big water here. This is a second part. I'm starting, if it's my paperwork for my people, it's page 3, and we might be changing this soon, so this could be wasteful. But it'll probably still apply. If it's everybody else, we're starting off with the question about whether you had wages or self-employment income covered under Social Security in all years from 1978 through last year. Yes, no. I actually give my people the option of I don't know because it is a confusing question. And they don't really explain to us why they want that. There's a few possibilities. It might be another way of asking you if you've had working income that was accepted from paying Social Security taxes, which could be that state or federal type of job where the WEP might then come into play. It could be reference to potentially, there is a little, and I'm not very familiar with it, but there is some sort of little wiggly room when a person stayed home from work to care for a child 3 or under 3, where I think they're trying to not include perhaps those 0 years of income that would otherwise bring down your PIA, primary insurance amount, because remember, it's always an average of your lifetime earnings. And if 3 years are zeros, that's 3 years of zeros averaged in. It can really drag you down. So it would be nice if it was for that reason. They don't really say. So most people say no, but I'm not so sure that's a really good idea. Because a lot of people stayed home to raise kids when they're 1, 2, and 3 before they go to preschool or kindergarten, right? Then you're supposed to list the years that you're aware of. They ask you if you agree with the annual incomes noted on your Social Security earnings statement. Now, I'm just going to add that if you haven't seen it, you got to go to SSA.gov/my account or the equivalent link to get to your Social Security file where you identify yourself on the internet version of the SSA, and you can download this particular statement. There's a ton of other information in there, but this is particularly what it's talking about. So that if you have something missing, let's say income from 3 years ago isn't showing up, but you know you earned it and you believe you filed a return, you're going to want to get that corrected ASAP. And you could tell them right now that something's missing. Or let's say the wrong fudgy numbers are in there and your tax returns would say otherwise. That's something you want to address, because if that's showing something that's worse, it's going to drag down your PIA, primary insurance amount. So it would affect the amount you would get should you win or should you become retired. All right. So pay attention to that. I also suggest that people always look at their annual Social Security earnings reports that they can download from their file on the internet, and make sure everything's kosher at all times, because the SSA often will not accept any amended tax returns or late filed tax returns more than, it's like the 3-3-15 rule, 3 years before the current filing year. So if it's getting older, it's going to scroll off the we're not changing our credits or anything basis. Okay. This one I see people screw up all the time. Please list all employers from this year and last year. So that's if you had employers this year or last year. I see people throw on the employer name and not the address, because it says employer name and address. Or yeah, sometimes I've seen them put things more than this year and last year, like didn't ask you for 5 years ago. That will come. And then when the work began and when it ended. So I put the start date of the work, not just January 1st, 2022 for last year. If you started in 2021 or 2010 or whatever, use the actual date the work began and then the actual date the work ended, unless you're still doing it. And if you're still doing it and it's very part-time, I would say part-time. Okay. On my form, this is number 13. May the Social Security Administration or the state agency reviewing your case ask your employers for information needed to process your claim. You're going to say yes to this. If you say no, you probably need, if you're my client, we probably need to part company. By and large, when the SSA asks if they can do something, it's because they need to help you develop your claim. So if you say no, then you're not getting your claim developed, and then they have to reject your claim. So I would say yes to that. Were you self-employed this year and last year? Yes or no? Yes, this year and last year. You think that it should say possibly this year or last year? I don't know. Anyway, be careful to read carefully. And if it's self-employed, they want what kind of business it was in this year, last year, and we even have the year before last, because sometimes these things get to us crossing over years. And they want to know if your net earnings from your trade or business was more than $400 for the year. Yes or no? Reminder, net earnings is your revenue that you brought in minus your business expenses. Basically, it would be what's on your Schedule C when you filed a tax return, if you did a Schedule C. There's probably other forms that people do when they're self-employed, but the Schedule C is the one I'm most familiar with. Then they ask, how much were your total work activity earnings last year? Count both the wages for work and self-employment income, if you had both. But do not count things like disability pay, unemployment, stock option payments, which are not pay for activity that year. So they're just trying to find out the work activity amounts. And this could also be helping them to find out if maybe the onset date of disability that you claimed could actually be earlier. So for people that don't have an attorney who already delves into this and knows that we have the right onset date, for the pro ses that are filling out their own Title II application form, I expect that this is where the SSA is trying to help determine if you picked the right onset, or if it could be you actually were legally disabled earlier than you thought. Okay. See, not everything they do is sneaky. Okay. And then you put down the amount, and you can estimate. Just let them know it's estimated. How much have you earned from the work activity so far this year? Same thing, put the amount, and if it's estimated, if there's none, write none. We have this down as 15C, and this is on the next page, which is page 4. By the way, we're getting towards the end, guys. It's really not the longest of forms. Did you receive any money from an employer on or after the date in item on our form 5A when you became unable to work because of your illnesses? So 5A is that question about when did you become unable to work, all right? And this is so that if they see that, let's say you stopped working in December of 2022 and you put that as your onset, but lo and behold, they get all their information from the IRS and or elsewhere that says that you received income that was reported as wages and SS taxes were potentially taken out in April of 2023. Now it looks like you were working until April of 2023, and that your December assertion of an onset date at the end of 2022 is wrong. Here's where you can explain, if that happens, how it's not wrong. Because yes, you did get money from your employer, severance or disability pay or saved up vacation pay. You know, it could have been an old bonus, you know, who knows, but this is where you explain it. And that helps you protect you from having them push out your onset should you win and deprive you of 4 months of or more of benefits. Do you expect to receive any additional money from, I have a typo here, from an employer such as sick pay, vacation pay, or other special pay? If yes, give the amounts and explain the remarks at the end of the form. That's so, even if you haven't received it now, but you know you're going to be getting something because they're working on it. This is where you can explain. Okay. Moving down, I'm just seeing if there's anything I'm going to say about this one. You're going to try to estimate the amount also. And you could say it's estimated. It's fine. They don't need the exact amount. Now we get into, it's part 2, information about you and your spouse, if any. So if you have been married, you're going to say yes to the yes or no question. If you are currently married, you're going to give information like this. To who are you married? And give their current name. Give their maiden name in the next line. When were you married? And if you don't remember the marriage date, and I see this, guys, it's kind of funny. You can say whether it's estimated or not. Okay. Where were you married? The city and state. If it's in another country, which one? Was it performed by a clergy or public official? Yes or no? Or was it performed by something else? Another. And then you would want to explain what other way you were married. This could potentially be a common law answer. Like, let's say you weren't married in that straightforward fashion and you happen to be in a state that has common law marriages. That's where that might apply. So you could get the benefits, the Social Security benefits from marriage that nobody else would be able to get in other states where that doesn't apply. Okay. What is your spouse's date of birth? There is also an option if you don't know your spouse's date of birth, but I suspect if you don't know your spouse's date of birth, you might not have a spouse for much longer. Also, spouse's Social Security number. Generally, married people have access to that information. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. They are trying to, the reason why they're asking about your current spouse is that if certain people are going to be eligible for a benefit under their spouse's work record, doesn't take away from their spouse's benefit. But if that amount is better than what you get on your own work record, you want them to know about it. The same is true for the next set of questions, which concerns any prior spouses. So yeah, you're going to want to give prior marriages. I will say that generally, if the marriage is less than 10 years before the divorce or the, if it's less than 10 years of marriage and your divorce, it's not really going to help anybody. But if it's longer, it will. But put your prior marriages, however it's asked. Same questions about where it was, when it ended, how it ended. Was it divorce, death, whatever? If it was divorce, where was the divorce at? The maiden name, all that kind of stuff. Was it performed by clergy, public official? Same questions as above, except with the addition of how did it end? Okay. Oh, we're really getting close, guys. So let's just check it off in this video right here. I thought it might have to be 3, but I think we can do it. Yeah, so they want the location of the divorce if you were divorced. If there were more prior marriages, they want to know that too. So you could put that in remarks on the last page, answering all the same questions that you saw above. Have you or your spouse worked in the railroad industry for 7 years or more? Yes or no? That has to do with some, I don't even want to know if I should use the word offsets. That happened with railroad benefits. So I'm not going to get into it because it's not my forte, but you're going to want to be honest there because they will find out regardless. But if you're not honest and you're knowingly not honest, we know what that's called, right? You don't want to not be honest to the best of your ability on a government official form. Next area is about your children. Now, this is because if your children are minors or if they are still in high school and between the age of 18 and 19, or if they are disabled, even if they're over that age, but they became disabled before age 22 and they continue to be disabled, they might be able to get benefits on your work record that will not take away any of your own benefits. So these are called dependent benefits, auxiliary benefits, and they're pretty awesome. So that's where you'd be listing your children. And on my form, we ask for some of the details. Are they disabled? Because we want to know which thing we're looking at. Because if it's a disabled child, who's not currently eligible for benefits, we want to make sure that you are prepared to start gathering all their medical records from when they were little that could disappear if you don't already have them, because medical records do disappear after a number of years. So it's really, really important. I have a whole nother video on that. That's with regard to DAC, disabled adult children, whole nother video. So I don't want to go into, in the weeds here. Also, they ask about if you have a dependent parent who's receiving at least half of his or her support from you at the time that you became disabled. And that's a yes or no question. And then if it's on our form, if it's a yes, put the name and address of the parent. This is important because that parent could be your dependent just like children would be. Who knew, right? And again, that will not take away from your benefit. It will only give them a benefit if they exist based on your work record. Okay, so that's all good. I don't see a lot of the answer being yes, but it's worth knowing, right? And then on my form, I'm not sure if it's on the official form. Do you have a My Social Security account? That's that thing I referred to, I think, in video 1 about going to, I think it's video 1, my SSA, no, it's ssa.gov/my account, and delving into your own account with the SSA. It's only something that you and the SSA have between you. No one else can get into it. And things you should be doing with that. And they will also tell you later on that you can go in there and get updates as to your case, blah, blah, blah. I will say the updates tend to be pretty unreliable. So I don't really encourage my clients to use that for that purpose. They can use it certainly for other purposes, like getting their earnings statement, all that good stuff. Have you used any other names? Have you used any other Social Security numbers? If yes, explain what they were and why. All right, and that's it. And there's a remarks section, and that is the basics of the paper application that you can do on your own if you download the SSA-16-BK. I think I'll try to link it below. If I forget to link it below in the comments, let me know and I'll grab it for you. Or again, if you're my client, this is part of the data information we ask for. And some of this is used for the application and some of it's used for future reports that are going to be demanded of you, which we will have done for you. But if you're pro se, you're going to have to do them yourself. So you want to keep a copy of anything you do and submit to the SSA, such as this, because you need to know what you said. Because if you look back and go, why did I say that? That's wrong. You can correct it and look like a good guy. Okay. All right, guys, that is the Title II data and or application. I hope that helped get you through it. Don't stress about it too much. And good luck. And if you're my client, let's rock. All right. Bye, guys.